Hello everyone, this is Sonal from USA, and I know it's been a long time my vlog has not come. Reason being, I'm little busy in some important meetings and some projects which I need to deliver in like another next 2 weeks. So my vlogs are going to get delayed for another 2 weeks, but I wanted to make sure that इतने सारे changes हो गए, Capitol building storm हो गया, and Mr. President Trump, as he's moving out, on his way out, he's making so many changes, and some of the changes which are impacting our student community. तो एक clock तो बनता है. Frankly, time is 12 o'clock in the night that I'm making a vlog. मैंने मेरा project बाजू में रख दिया, but I thought it is important that I talk about this. Lot been said and done. What is in it for the H1-B visa holders. So आज के vlog में I'm going to talk about this new change which is effective January 7 about the H1B new rule, where they said that it is no more lottery and it is going to be the wage based H1B selection. Now what does that mean? I will talk about it. So let's get started. Announces this final rule, which is abandoning H1B lottery and for new wage ranking selection process. So this is the final rule announced by USCIS. USCIS announced a new final rule on 7th of January, as you know, that it is amending the Department of Homeland Security, basically DHS, is amending this rule by which USCIS, which is United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, selects H1B petitions based on the wage levels. So there are 4 categories of wage: wage 4, wage 3, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. Level 4, of course, starting the highest, level 1 being the lowest. What does it mean, and how it is going to get impacted, and what are the different things that came up here. So let's look up that. So I'm going to go through while I'm going to explain, I'm also going to show you what I'm going to refer, which is this is already published in the Federal Register for a review, and that is what I'm going to show you, some of the highlights, what comments people have mentioned, and they almost received 1103 comments for this entire rule when it was published, and it was interim, and based on that they defined this rule and made it final. This rule is going to be effective March 9, 2021. So I'm going to cover is what are some of the highlights of this new rule, how it is going to get impacted to the H1B holders who are already here, and the people who are looking for applying for H1, especially students who are on F1 visa. Ranking by wage level, how that is going to impact, and I'm also going to cover the selection process, enforcement of the final rule, and what would happen to the registrations which are filed before March 9, and how does this new wage process differ from the current selection process. So let's go step by step. As I said, this rule is going to be effective March 9, 2021. That's number 1. Number 2, what are some of the highlights? So earlier it was very random, lottery based system, as the word suggests, lottery meaning लॉटरी में जिसका नंबर लग गया, जिसका नहीं लगा नहीं लगा. there are pros and cons in the lottery system. And people who have stayed here and have experience would support this statement, because random selection में ये होता है कि you do not know whether you have a chance and there is nothing that can be planned. And the same is the case for the employer, because employers cannot plan their staffing plans based on the lottery system. So even if the person is very important, highly skilled, and getting high wages, they cannot retain that person because lottery system is random and they do not know whether that person, the H1B visa holder would be retained or not. So that was one drawback. So with this H1B rule, new rule, many people think that it is going to get benefited because people who are, into the research, innovation, or highly skilled specialty workers, which we call as H1B specialty workers, who are getting high wages, would definitely have chances to get picked up if they are in the level 4 category. So there are chances that they will be picked up first, followed by level 3, then level 2. And because there is a limit on the visas, as you know, 65,000 plus 20,000 for masters, first these categories, level 4, level 3 would be picked up, and then if there are any visas remaining, it would come to level 2 and level 1. And that's why I'm sure the student community is more worried, because all of them are coming for higher education here, in the hope that they would find a new job immediately, and some employer would file an H1. Now, even if employer is ready to file an H1, it is likely that you will not get a wage which is level 4, and you would probably in the level 1, thereby minimizing your chances of getting selected into the H1B system, in the new system, right? So yes, that is true, that is there, but there is also some discussion around that. This is the advanced copy which is posted already into Federal Register for review. Let's go step by step here to see what they are saying. So see, dates are effective March 9, 2021, and then if you go further, this is just different, this is a lot of detailed information. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights of this whole thing. So this point I already covered, that it is going to be the wage-based system, and this is exactly is what they have mentioned, that why they wanted to do this purpose, and the summary of the regulatory action, if you see here, that they're talking about, because USCIS will rank and select the registrations received generally on the basis of highest OES wage level that the proffered wage equals or exceeds for the relevant SOC code in the area of intended employment, beginning with OES wage level 4 and proceeding in descending order, level 3, level 2, level 1. This is what we have been talking about. And proffered wage is the wage that employer intends to pay to the beneficiary. Thoda legal language hai, but basically what they are saying is they are going to categorize into the 4 level, starting from wage level 4 to 3 to 1. And final rule will not affect the order of selection as between the regular cap and the advanced degree exemption. The wage level ranking will occur first for the regular cap selection and then for the advanced degree. Now, what they're talking about is now basically they're talking about the H1B visa program, which we already know that it's basically to temporarily hire foreign workers to perform services in specialty occupation. And this is where they thought that there were some issues. Now, the total number of foreign workers who may be granted initial H1B non-immigrant status is 65,000. It cannot exceed that, and 20,000 for higher degree, US masters or higher degree. So that is still there, and that is where Mr. Biden administration is thinking that they may increase the numbers, but we don't know. Now, in response to this rulemaking, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, as I mentioned, had received 1103 comments. These are some of the comments, and they are very interesting. So you should definitely go through this document in detail. I'm just scrolling through to go through some of the highlights. I'm going to post this link in the comment section so you can have a look, and whenever you have time you can go through this entire detailed document, which would help you to understand more about this. So there were a lot of policy concerns which were there about this. As I said that people were concerned that there are contractors who file the H1B through many of their network companies for one petitioner, and thereby increasing their chances to get picked up in the lottery, and they feel that the system was abused to some extent. So by doing this wage-based system, these things would be eliminated, and only people who deserve, are highly skilled, would get a chance or stand a chance to get the H1B visa, which makes quite a sense, and what they are saying is the overall unemployment rates for college grads is higher in some fields, and H1B is replacing them because they're coming on lower wages. So that is another thing that kind of would be taken care here. Now this is a negative impact because of academic institution, healthcare workers, they are thinking that would be too difficult to get people because international students will not come here for the entry level or STEM programs because of this rule, and non-STEM graduates would further have difficulty obtaining H1 classification under the proposed rule. So there are discussions, and definitely people think, and there were, law firms, institutes, universities reached out about this, that it would dramatically reduce access to H1B visa program for early career professionals. So it is not just your concern, it is also concern for universities, because US college and universities feel that this rule will definitely reduce the number of entrants here in the US, and thereby we would not get the talent that we are looking for. So that is the main concern. So many people have commented about this, that the proposal would have negative impact on new foreign graduates, entry-level workers, and they also provided substantive rationale in support of these assertions, but somehow I don't think that has worked, because many people were supportive of this wage structure kind of H1B rule selection. And people think that it would have a direct and negative impact on college-educated foreign-born professionals by dramatically reducing access to the H-1B visa program for early career professionals. So even if people are here, it would have a direct negative impact, which are college-educated foreign-born professionals. Now, several commenters, including University Professional Association, had a joint submission argued that the proposed rule would reduce access to H-1B program, negatively impacting graduating international students. I just mentioned that. And they also stated that proposed rule indirectly would affect F1 and J1 students, scholars, by removing a pathway to employment after completion of educational or training experiences in the United States. What are some of the highlights of this new rule? So this final rule creates a wage-based selection process for H1B registration. Just now I mentioned about those 4 levels, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1, instead of randomized computer-generated process, which was the case earlier. So that would be totally replaced by this system. Now, ranking by wage level. Now, ranking by wage level is basically DHS, Department of Homeland Security, will amend this entire regulation governing process by which USCIS selects only H1B registrations based on the salary or wages. H1B registrations for filing H1B subject petitions by generally first selecting registrations based on the highest occupational employment statistics, which is called OES, prevailing wage level indicated on the petition, where the proffered wage equals or exceeds the relevant standard occupational classification. So there is something called SOC code. So on the basis of that and the areas of intended employment beginning with OES wage level, which is standard occupational classification SOC code, wage level 4 and proceeding in descending order. That means level 4, then comes level 3, then comes level 2, and then level 1 comes in the picture. So the proffered wage, I just mentioned one word, proffered wage. The proffered wage is the wage that employer intends to pay the beneficiary. So that is the proffered wage. Now in other words, USCIS will now rank and select H1-B Cap-Subject registration received according to the highest OES. So selection process. So USCIS will now rank and select H1-B Cap-Subject registrations received according to the highest OES wage level offered by the employer. So that means person who is at the level 4 has of course higher chances of getting selected. It is very obvious, right? And it will discontinue its randomized selection. So lottery based का सवाल ही नहीं है. So people are happy about it because earlier even though people had a caliber, were earning highest salary, and in the niche skills, specialty skills or specialized skill set, still they were not getting selected. And the people who are at entry level doing very generic skills, not a specialty, super specialty skills, are kind of getting H1 lottery, which was very disappointing. There are different thoughts on this process. As I said, that when this general thing was passed and there were comments which were asked from people, 1106 comments were received, and some of the comments mentioned that there are a lot of consultancies who do a fraud by filing, these H1 petitions for employers or H1 petitions for their employees. And what they do is, they file it through different companies. If there are a small group of companies, these people would file it through different employers, thereby increasing their chances in the H1B lottery system. Plus, another angle is, people were coming on H1 wages, were coming on a lower wages and replacing the employment opportunities for the locals. So by this rule, they are hoping that it would replace the existing system, unfair practices or frauds if they were happening, by giving an opportunity to select the higher wage petitioners, in that sense, the immigrant workers or aliens they call it. So thereby increasing the chances of selecting specialty workers whose skill sets are really in high demand, thereby retaining the best talent in the country and avoiding all these frauds and people with low wages replacing the existing replacing the local or substituting the local workforce. So this is the thought process. So of course the colleges, universities, law firms had objected that as it is COVID-19 has impacted the whole university courses, their student admission rates have gone down and this is going to impact further. But what they are saying that it is a good news for students because STEM students especially, because they get 1 year of OPT, 12 months. After that they can apply for 24 months of STEM OPT. So they are saying that the students at the entry level have 3 years together, OPT plus STEM OPT, and they can really prove their worth to the company. And if company or employer feels that this person is really bringing a value to my company or my profile or my employment, then the employer can choose to offer higher wages to that person to retain him, to make sure that he gets either level 3 wages, so that there are high chances that he or she would get picked up in this H1-B selection process. So that is their thought process. So by that means they also want to eliminate people who have average skills, though they have taken education here to get the employment, and only people who have high skills, specialty skills, and who can bring value. And they are saying that they have 3 years of time frame, all the students, to get to this level and increase their chances of getting selected into the H1B selection process of this wage level. So that is another thought process. Now enforcement of this final rule, the final rule will apply to all Cap-Subject H1B registrations, including those for the advanced degree exemption submitted on or after the effective date of the final rule. Now the only exception is, good news is, the exception is to earn a master's degree and you get a job offer from the Institute of Higher Education or any NGO which is affiliated to the Higher Education Institute, this is exempted. Or if you're working for a research institute, non-profit related or affiliate with institution of higher education or a non-profit. So basically there are 3 categories. So if you do your master's degree and you get an offer from the institute which is offering higher education, you are exempted from this cap. Secondly, non-profit related to or affiliate. So basically if you are associated to the non-profit which is also affiliated to the higher education institute, so again you are out of this cap. Or you're working for a non-profit, or you get an offer from a non-profit or a research organization or a government research organization which are exempt from this cap. So that's a good news. So even if you're a student, you're doing your masters and you get this kind of offer, employment offer. So basically if you are part of these 3 situations that I said, you get an offer from these 3 places, then you are totally exempt from the cap. So that's a good news. Alright, so what will happen to the registrations filed prior to March 9, 2025? The treatment of registrations and petitions filed prior to this effective date, to this final rule, will be based on the regulatory requirements in the place at the time of registration or petition was filed. And how does the new wage selection process differ from the current selection process? I briefly explained, basically it is not a random process anymore. It is going to be the wage based on the levels, level 4, 3, 2, 1, higher chances if you're at a level 4 and 3, and if you're at level 2 and 1, your probabilities are reducing because there is no specific mention about the quota, how much they would utilize for level 4, level 3 and level 2 and 1. So it is likely that if their H1B cap is over between say 4 to 2, they may not have anything for level 1. But it is still not clear, I would say, because I did not see when I was going to the document any mention about those specific things. So how does the new wage selection process differ from the current selection process? So basically, prospective petitioner whose registration is selected would be eligible to file the H1B Cap-Subject petition, right? Allocations. So kind of lottery here, where if they have more registration, then they would select randomly between this submitted registration to consider for the H1B cap. Currently there is no ranking system in place based on the wage level, nor the priority is given to registration with high prevailing. So there is nothing like because you filed before and you have higher wages you have more chances. No, there is no such ranking system here. So beginning March 9th 2021, the lottery process would be totally abandoned and this will be moved to this wage-based system, wage level ranking system, to be very precise, that they call it in the documentation. Now why the change in the selection process? I again covered some of the topics, based on the comments that people mentioned, why there is a change which was required, why people felt strongly. And when I went through the comments, most of the people were positive about this change because they felt that this would favor the highly skilled specialized worker H1B alien than the people who are here, for entry level, or people who are here um, just came for education, and people who are highly skilled may lose the chance in the lottery. So they felt it is much more in favor of the people who are highly skilled workers. And as a student, if you also look back, sit back and relax for some time and think about this, as an employer, if I think about it, yes, I mean, I have seen, or I have seen people who are not able to come here, even though they are highly skilled, deserve a chance to come here because of the lottery system. But this would provide them better chances, and that way, US also wants to make sure that we get the best of the best talent, which is much needed here, for the economy. Maybe researchers and people who are highly skilled, highly specialized in that area. So, in their language, DHS believes that this change will incentivize H1B employers to offer higher wages, or to petition for positions requiring higher skills and higher skilled aliens that are commensurate with higher wage levels, to increase the likelihood of selection and eligibility to file an H1B Cap-Subject selection. So same thing that I explained, that basically they are thinking that one way, if the person is talented, has a different specialty skill set, that's also an incentive. It will incentivize the employer to give higher wages to that person and bring that person here, because the chances of selections are higher in this wage-based system, wage ranking system. And also that earlier program was little bit kind of abusing, in the sense that USCIS observed that people who were coming on H1B were not highly paid, and thereby it was creating kind of anomaly, because if they are not getting highly paid, that means we were getting employers, so we're getting H1B workers with lower wages to work here. Now that system would be gone, because employers will have to pay higher wages in order to make sure that the person would get selected into the H1 wage rank based system. So that was the whole idea. Basically incentivize employers to pay higher wages to the H1B workers, and in the long run, if you look at it, it is beneficial for H1B alien workers that they would be paid highly and they would get a chance to come here. So just a thought, I know as a student probably you would be disappointed that it is not going to give you immediate results. But again, as I mentioned, that you still have a 3 years time period if you're in the same OPT and the OPD, where you can work as 1 year OPT and 24 months STEM OPT, 3 years time frame. Enough time to prove your caliber and show company that you really have a skills to at least get you to level 3 or level 2 wage level, and thereby your chances of H1B selections gets higher, right? So there is always a positive outlook for everything. It's not so disappointing that you think. And I also told you 3 categories, which are exempted from the cap. So if you are really doing a good job, even in the college or the projects, I have seen, some people do that. Some good projects by which they get offered in NGOs and, non-profits related to the higher institutes, higher study institutes, and you never know, you will get out of the cap. So always think positive. Can the Biden administration invalidate this new law? It's a good question, right? So it is possible. So it's possible that once Mr. Biden takes the effect, policy will be invalidated. Possible. However, it is unclear, because when Mr. Biden had proposed his agenda, there were not many thoughts about the immigration process. So we are really not very clear, and there was no stance on H1B visas. But I remember at one time somewhere he had mentioned about this number, that that quota system and the 85,000 numbers that we talk about, 65,000 plus 20,000, total 85,000. that would define this number. So that is something is little bit, I would say is slight positive, I would say. But in the entire discussions, Mr. Biden, he never talked about the H1-B visas. There was no stance or anything about immigration, so we really do not know whether this would change or no. In general, the Mr. Biden and the administration wishes to expand work visas, like I said, because they were concerned about the numbers. This was defined few years back, and nobody has revised those numbers. So maybe there's a possibility, but this is just a thought process. So they wish to expand the work visas for highly skilled workers, definitely. And campaign has said in the past that it is committed to a wage-based allocation process. So they are also in the favor of this wage-based allocation process for work visas and enforcement of mechanisms that protect the American workforce and do not undermine wages. So as I said earlier, there was a concern that people used to come on H1B and on lower wages, and basically the whole idea of doing this is to eliminate that portion and only get highly skilled and highly paid H1B Indian workers. Now only time will tell how the president will react to this measure, and as always we'll continue, to see what are the developments and keep you updated on this. Only this vlog is delayed, but I promise that I will try not to delay my vlogs, especially on these important topics. So these are some of the highlights that I wanted to cover. I know a lot has been happened between my last vlog and this vlog. The Capitol building was stormed, and President Trump impeached a second time. So a lot of things happen which are historic, not very positive, but yeah, things keep happening. The effort was to bring this new rule and explain what are the changes, without getting too much in details, because still there is not so much clarity about how they would define higher wages, because depending on the cost of living, every city will have different wages, right? For example, Boston is expensive, Texas is lower wages, or any other, and level 4 at Boston would be much higher compared to level 4, which is at a low cost city. For example, if I consider Ohio or any other low cost city. So it is still not very clear how they will do it, but we are hoping that there would be some mechanism that they would identify level 4 and they will only consider, and they will not just go by the wage number, but they would decide and see the location of the petitioner, and then based on that they would decide the level 4s, and then they would pick up them. So I hope this vlog was useful and helpful. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments, and I will try to do more research. And I'm also providing a link where you will find this detailed document, so you can go through it and find students. But of course, there is a very strong and positive, strong thought from the universities that they definitely see that international students, as it is due to COVID-19, it is impacted, and students have gone down when they come for admissions here. With this rule, it would further impact, and students would think, right, why should I go to US if I have a problem getting an H1B? Rather, they would think about the countries where they would, where they have easy immigration policies, and they can adapt to a status there and start working there. So that is also is mentioned there, and that is going to be the concern. So let's see how this rule is, further modified, if at all, by Mr. Biden and its administration. So let's hope for the best, and always stay positive and keep watching my vlogs, and till my next vlog, bye bye. Alright, if you have still not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Please press that bell icon so you get a notification for my next vlog. I have some interesting vlogs coming up. It's just that I'm really not getting time to edit them, but I will be coming soon. Alright, bye bye.